Hi everyone, I'm here today with a very exciting and highly anticipated video, and it's one of those videos that you only make once every year. Yes, in 1 week from today, the year is over. It's going to be over. And so I've been going through my Goodreads, looking at all the books that I have read in 2015, and surprisingly, 2015 has been my busiest year so far ever with everything that I've had going on, but still, it's been my most productive year in terms of reading. According to my Goodreads, I have read 90 books, and I still have a week or so, and I'm thinking maybe in that week I can read 5 or 6 short books. So it seems that by the end of 2015, I will have read about 95 books. So that's a lot. I usually read 40 to 50 books, and this year I completely exceeded my expectations. So I've been going through my Goodreads and really just taking a look at everything that I've read and just really making decisions in terms of which are the books that have really stayed with me in a very important way. And those are not necessarily the books that received 5 stars, although they all have received at least 4 stars. So next week I will post my video on my top 15 books of 2015. But right now, today, I wanted to mention some books that were very close to making it into that top 15 books of 2015 list, but that were not quite there for some reason or another, even though they may have received 5 stars or very high ratings, they didn't leave as big an impression on me as the others that I will mention on my top 15 did. So, without any further ado, these are my honorable mentions for 2015. The first honorable mention that I have for 2015 is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. This book is just beautifully written. It has a wonderful narrative style. It is surprisingly fast-paced, but it does have some very long, beautiful descriptions. It's all about the setting of the circus itself. It's about a circus that appears in the nighttime in some different cities, and you never know when or where it's going to happen. It's a book that fills you with a sense of wonderment, and I was just astounded as to how Erin Morgenstern managed to build this setting and this very ethereal feeling of nostalgia and enchantment. And the characters are also very likable and very beautifully crafted, as well as the dialogues, and I really do recommend picking this up. I think I gave that one 4.5 out of 5. My next honorable mention is Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. Gillian Flynn is one of my favorite authors. She writes the most messed up, amazing, just hooking thrillers. She is the author, of course, of Gone Girl and Dark Places, and a short story called The Grown Up, which I also read this year, and I guess I could also include it as an honorable mention. But Sharp Objects is a story about a female character who goes back into her hometown and starts digging up some information about some criminal activities that happen there, as well as her own family. Everything is connected, and in the end there's a big reveal in which we find out some horrible truths about the protagonist's family, and it's all done very well in very beautiful prose, very page-turning fashion, much in the style of Gillian Flynn, and I really recommend it. I think I gave it 4 stars. Then I have Will Grayson by John Green and David Levithan. This is a very funny but touching story. It's heartwarming and heartbreaking. It is written by 2 authors, and each author is in charge of writing one character's chapter. So it's kind of difficult because each character's chapter does have a very distinct writing style and a very distinct voice, and you can see the author behind that character's writing. But it was very endearing, very compelling, and it really is one of the funniest books that I've read this year. It has a wonderful character called Tiny, and I very much recommend it. It has LGBTQ plus themes, and it's just very entertaining. Then I have the Chaos Walking trilogy by Mr. Patrick Ness. Patrick Ness is a writer that I read a lot of in 2015, and this is, I think, the first thing that I read from him. It's not my favorite, but I really did enjoy it. The Chaos Walking trilogy, of course, comprises The Knife of Never Letting Go, The Ask and the Answer, and the conclusion to the trilogy is Monsters of Men, which was my least favorite one. I think this trilogy is very action-packed. It certainly is very enjoyable. It's a perfect gift or a perfect recommendation for teenagers or maybe someone who is not very much into reading, because these books are addictive. They have literally a cliffhanger at every end of a chapter. It's really wonderful. The characters are very likable and very relatable, and the plot is so fast-paced you cannot even believe it. I think I gave the first book in the trilogy 4 stars. This one was my favorite. Then the second one I gave 3 stars, I believe, and the third one might have been a 3.5 because the ending was just not for me. Now I'm dropping it. My next honorable mention is The Cycle of the Werewolf by Stephen King. This is the only Stephen King book that I read in 2015, and it was amazing. I really recommend it if you're looking for something short, something that is guaranteed. It's very, very well written. It is like a very good sample of what Stephen King does well, which is portraying these very American characters in a small town who apparently have very mundane lifestyles, but ultimately end up playing out a very important role in a supernatural event, if that makes sense. And it's a very beautiful book. It's addictive as well. You can read it in one sitting, and it really is incredible. I gave it 4 stars as well, or 4.5. Then I have Without Feathers by Woody Allen. This was such a delight to read. It is very, very funny and very insightful, and it really does tell you a lot about human nature and the human condition. It is a collection of short stories, essays, plays, and just bits and fragments by Woody Allen. He really is a wonderful writer. I love his movies, and I love his way of thinking and his way of looking at life. And I will say, though, that this book didn't make my top 15 list because, you know, as it happens with this kind of books that have a lot of different material different types of material in them, sometimes not everything, not all of it, is as good as the rest. And this was definitely the case here. Although I will say that this book has one of the best and most brilliant pieces of literature I have ever read in my life, and I'm talking about, no, it's not this one. I'm sorry, it's a play, it's a theater play, it's absolutely hysterical, it doesn't make any sense at all, but that just makes it even better. It's called God, a Play, and it is wonderful. This book is just, I really, really loved it. I think I gave it 3.5 though, because not everything was, you know, as good as that play. Then we have a children's literature classic, and it's Tuck Everlasting by Natalie Babbitt. This one is perfectly written. It has a beautiful writing style. It is very accessible for children, so it's a really great gift. I think it would make a great Christmas present or birthday present. It deals with themes such as immortality, life and death, magic versus reality, the ordinary versus the extraordinary, and it really is wonderfully written. I think I gave this one 5 stars or 4.5. It's beautiful. Then I have another book that was just so compelling. Forgive Me, Leonard Peacock by Matthew Quick. This follows a young kid, I think he's a young teenager, I think, and he's about to commit suicide. So we're following him in his last hours on Earth. And this book features wonderful writing. It's very, 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 very fast-paced. It's addictive. You just want to know what's going to happen, if he's going to eventually kill himself or he's not going to kill himself, and why, and what's going to play out. And it's wonderful. I really recommend it if you're looking for something compelling and wrenching, but it's also very nice to read, and it has one of my favorite characters from the entire year. I think he is called Herr Silverman. He is a teacher, and he is just a wonderful character. I gave Forgive Me, Leonard Peacock 4 stars. The next honorable mention that I have is a thriller, and it is The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. And I really loved this book, and I deeply appreciate it because of all the things that make it different from most thrillers. Basically, it has a very slow burning quality because it describes a lot of what's going on with the main character's mind, and we really get to explore her psychology, her point of view. She is a very unlikable and unreliable female protagonist. She is an alcoholic woman who has a lot of mental issues, but I found it very enjoyable to read from her perspective, if that makes sense. And we also follow a set of characters who are part of the main investigation. And I really liked knowing a lot about their family dynamics and their lifestyles. And eventually, this book doesn't have like a big reveal or a very big ta-da moment like many thrillers would. But that's what I loved about this book, and it really was a delight to read. It was still very fast-paced and very enjoyable, and I gave it 4 stars as well. Another honorable mention that I have is Fortunately the Milk by Neil Gaiman. This is a children's short story, like a short novella, and it is absolutely action-packed, hilarious, a lot of fun. It's very well written because it's Neil Gaiman, and the ending actually took me by surprise because it's very nostalgic and very I don't know, it hits you right in the stomach. It's very beautiful. It really does tell you a lot about what a father is willing to do for their children. It's a wonderful story, and I gave it actually 5 stars. I just didn't put it into my top 15 books of the year list because it's a children's short story, and I cannot really compare it to the other books that I will be talking about, but it really was amazing. I recommend it if you have small children. The next one that I have is also fantastic, and it's The Girl Who Circumnavigated Furland in a Ship of Her Own Making by Catherine M. Valente. The writing style of this book is just spot on. It is flawless. It feels British and perfect and nice. And I know that a writing style is beautiful when I just feel compelled to read it aloud. And this book, I pretty much read it aloud to myself because it was so damn beautiful. I really enjoyed it. Next I have Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell, and this one took me by surprise because last year I read Eleanor and Park, and I really did not like that book at all. But Fangirl was something else completely. It is a very heartwarming story that does have very heartbreaking moments, but ultimately it's a very fluffy, warm read about family and about what it means to grow up. And I love that the protagonist in this book writes fan fiction, Harry Potter fan fiction basically, and the characters in this book are so likable and so relatable, and you really want to meet them in person, particularly Levi. Let's just be honest, he is really the center of the story. And I think I gave Fangirl 4 stars as well. And the last honorable mention that I have for 2015 is a book that I loved as well, and it is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. Donna Tartt wrote one of my favorite books of all time, The Goldfinch, and so I wanted to pick up some of her other novels, and she has The Secret History and another one called A Little Friend, but that one is not as acknowledged, or people don't seem to enjoy it as much, so I went on and read this one instead, and I loved it. I couldn't say it was perfect. I couldn't say it was the right book for me necessarily, but I very much appreciated it. Her writing style is absolutely out of this universe. It's wonderful. And my only problem with it, and that's why I gave it 3.5 out of 5, is because I didn't enjoy the second half of the novel as much as I did the first one. I think the first one was absolutely 5 stars. But then, I don't know, something fell a little bit flat for me. but it's a wonderful book. I now understand why people love her so much and love this book so much. And yeah, it really does deserve all the accolades and all the attention that it's received. So thank you guys for watching this video. Those were my honorable mentions for 2015. Stay tuned because next I will post my December wrap-up and also my top 15 books of 2015, and you will not believe how crazy those books are. Honestly, it was so difficult to narrow it down to 15, but you will see why. Stay tuned and I will see you on the next video.